have a very special guest who we'll be talking to today. We'll be, getting to know her, better, getting to know some of her programs, key initiatives, and of course, as a woman, how it has been like getting to where she is and being able to mentor young ladies too. So we have the special advisor to the Kwara State Governor on Education and Policy Formulation. We have Dr. Adetola Salau with us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Adetola. How are you today?
I'm good. It's raining cats and dogs out there.
How was it like getting here, with the rain and all of it?
It was really challenging, but it was worth it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excited to have you too. Excited to speak with you this afternoon. So all right, so just to know a little bit about Dr. Adetola Salau. She presently serves as the special advisor on education, policy formulation, human capital development to Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak of Kwara State. Now, with a strong background in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, that's STEM education, she has been instrumental in transforming the state's educational landscape. Her initiatives focus on integrating STEM disciplines, promoting digital literacy, fostering gender equality in education. All right, so all of this is going to be incorporated into our conversation this afternoon on the program. Take us through the journey, up to this point where we get to meet you as, someone who is up there advising the governor on, policy formulation, education, and, I'm sure that this will also have a branch in female education too, all of it. So just give us a little background of how you got it, because I'm sure this will inspire a lot of the young ladies.
Okay. Sidebar. This story, I had to finally write some of it, and I say some because it's still not everything. In my book, which I'll be launching next week, Tuesday, I wrote about my why I'm very passionate about educational reform, transforming education, particularly here in Africa. In a book, one of the books, because I'm launching 2 books. One of the books, the first one is called Bridging Two Worlds, and my why was written in that book, and my journey. And the journey starts with me being the child, the product of 2 professors who met themselves here in Lagos and relocated to the States to go to school overseas, and returned back because that was one of their core beliefs, giving back to the community. And I came back, and I'm still I'm still embedded, still touched by being the child of 2 professors, being in an academic environment. I grew up in a universities, because it was more than one, plural. And then being in public service, it really impacted my life, watching them teach, care for other people's children. And I want to call it divine providence, because I didn't plan on. My plan when I went to, in my story, I said from engineering to education.
Engineering?
Yes, my desire, my belief, my overwhelming drive was I was going to become an engineer. And then by this stage of my life, or even maybe later, I will come back to education. But I want to say it's divine providence, because something happened, and I'm not going to say what it was. Go and buy my book. Something happened that changed the trajectory of my life, and I found myself immediately in the public sector, and I started serving. And even when I tried to go back into private, when I came back to relocated back to Nigeria, I went into private. I was an engineer, project engineer, did work for a couple of years. I never had that satisfaction. And I found myself back again running an NGO, running a social enterprise, and before you know it, again, somehow, again, I'm going to get my book. Again, I found myself back in the public sector again. And it's such an interesting journey. That's why I had to finally write it. as I'm even talking about it now, and I'm just remembering how I started penning it down.
Yeah.
It has had so many twists and turns, just like any good story should. But the underlying theme that I see that was there,
Yeah.
when I walked in here and I looked at your banners in the studio right here, the first thing that just struck me was the voice of women.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, my second book, Reimagining African Education, is dedicated to my mom. And the reason I dedicated to my mom, I didn't dedicate to anybody. I mean, I have thank yous, but it's specifically dedicated to my mom.
Okay.
And I realized the reason it's dedicated to my mom is because she's the voice of all those women before her, and then her and after her, who taught me, who brought me to this place, and hopefully now I'll be able to do the same for other women. Women who went through their own journeys, obstacles, their challenges, also utilized their gifts, nurtured other women, and not just women, they also nurtured young men.
Yeah.
And they just gave birth over and over and over. And I don't mean just their own children. I mean they gave birth to ideas, they took care of other children, they just gave birth to so many wonderful things that we're all enjoying and utilizing right now in the Nigerian community, in our space in general, and not just Nigeria. There's a ripple effect. Other nations also benefit here in West Africa, across Africa. Those women, it just struck me, and I just had to mention that. This is my second stint in the public sector. The first time was 2020 to 23, serving under the auspices of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu in Lagos State as a policymaker, his senior special assistant on education. And when I was there, I also carried out a bunch of programs, but a lot of it was underneath a big project that we call STEAM Up Lagos.
Yeah.
And that project, its aim was to equip our students with skills necessary for the future job market, emphasizing practical learning experiences in the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And I emphasize entrepreneurship too. And now I'm carrying it out, I'm passing it out along to Kwara State. So I called it STEAM Up Kwara in Kwara. And there we've been able to work on a digital literacy program. Last year we had a free summer coding program. We expanded it to it becoming a full-time digital literacy boot camp. Last year over the summer it was at 6 centers. Now it's expanded to over 15 different centers. Last year it was 500 students that were boosted. Now we've aimed and we've been working with over 7,500 students. When we started it, it was aimed at ages 11 to 15. Now it's 11 to 16, 17-ish. And we're working with them on fundamental, well, it's the same, fundamental, foundational knowledge in coding, algorithmic thinking, and the essential ICT skills. And when we say essential, it's one of the greatest tragedies that occurred, not just last year, even this year, was sitting down and realizing that some of the children couldn't even turn on the computers. Quite a number of them had no idea how to utilize Word. And Word is a basic necessity now. We're not even going to talk about getting to university. Even in secondary schools, being able to put together a document encapsulating, okay, this is my idea, this is what I want to submit to my teacher. Then being able to put together a PowerPoint presentation, these are my ideas, this is what I want to present to my teacher, this is what I want to present to my class. It should be basic. And then we had an inaugural education conference last November, which was Future Ready Education, Advancing STEAM and Skills Development for our Nigerian youth. It was amazing. We had people from all over the world. I say world, it wasn't just Nigeria. We had Nigerians from the diaspora come and speak about their own ideas and what they envision for our youth. So it was amazing.
Education conference.
Yes, in Kwara. It was in Kwara State. We had educators, policy makers, industry leaders. I mean, these people, like I said, from the diaspora, they were discussing strategies for preparing our students. And then we've also had a lot of international collaboration for teacher training and youth programs. I have been working with the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, and I continue. And right now we're working on setting up a corner in the innovation hub that we just launched in Ilorin. It's a beautiful space, by the way. We're going to have that space for cultural exchange and educational activities, which have already begun. We had a program with Boeing in, I believe that was March or April, and we trained over 25 students in conjunction with Boeing about space education. I mean, it was amazing. I was blown away. I was blown away doing that training. And of course, as you correctly said, I am a woman, and I said my background is engineering and science. And even till today, there still exists quite a number of inequalities for us, and it doesn't start in the tertiary institutions. It starts all the way in the secondary institutions. When you decide you want to be a science student, they tell you you're not good enough as a girl, you're not smart enough. One of the biggest things I have is driving gender equality, particularly in STEM, telling them that you're good enough, you're smart. So last year I partook of the Committee of Status of Women in New York, the UN program, trying to see how we can leverage a relationship with UNICEF, the UN Women, to infuse into our digital programs in Kwara State. And we had an event where I brought all these people, we sat down, we talked about ideas. It was called STEM Education as a catalyst to accelerate gender equality and empowerment of women and girls in Kwara State. It was really, really good. You see, like I said, the reason why I see why I am so driven is just like your banner states here, the voices of all those women that went before me, paved that way for me, and now it's my own turn to continue to pave that way. I'm just going to give this quick tidbits from one of my books. I believe it was the Reimagining African Education book, my second book. I wrote about an incident that happened to me last year. Every year, we celebrate the International Day of Women and Girls in Science in February. We celebrated February 11th. And when I was in Lagos, I celebrated that day with so much pomp and so much joy with our students from various schools. So I knew that coming to Kwara, I had to continue, even more than anything, continue that. So last year was my first year of doing that in Kwara State. And we held it at one of our schools. We brought in students from, I believe it was 3 schools, because I had just started. I was getting my feet wet to know how to put this together. And I never forget, I had a very low-key engagement, one-on-one session with the young ladies, saying, okay, let's talk. Let's talk to each other. What are your dreams? Let me tell you my own experiences. Let's just talk. Let's just chit-chat. And one of those young ladies told me that her dream, her passion is to become a surgeon. What followed afterwards, after she said that, totally broke me. But I had to hold myself together while I was there. Because remember, I was still talking to them live, and I had reporters standing right by me too. She said, is it really possible for me to be this? Can I really be this? And I asked myself, why should she be asking that like a question? Why should she be doubting whether this was possible or not? And it wasn't just that she said it. She added the qualifier, is it really possible for me to do this as a woman? That's why I said it broke me. It broke me because what I expected to hear was, what are the things that I need to do in order for me to achieve this objective, this goal? Because I had that too. And I told them my story, that when I was 13, go and buy my book, both books. When I was 13, I decided I wanted to become a chemical engineer. So fortunately, like I said earlier, my parents were lecturers, so when we're at the university, so access to a library, which I realized a lot of people didn't have that time, but I did. So I went to the library and I did research. What will it entail for me to become a chemical engineer? And then I told my dad, and my dad, fortunately, they used to travel overseas for a lot of conferences. And my dad was also working in the climate change space till he died. May so rest in peace. So he traveled quite a bit, so he had access to getting material for me, and he would bring them back. I even, as I'm talking to you now, I'm vividly recollecting one big book that he brought back, and I had to start reading it, which different universities offered what the chemical engineering, what their different programs comprised of, what were the specific research areas. I mean, he brought back this huge book. I went back to find out what did it entail, and nobody told me it was impossible. I never had any doubt that it was possible for me to do this. So hearing this young
lady,
hearing that young lady say, I'm really amazed that I didn't break down crying or that I didn't scream, because anybody that knows me knows I'm very expressive. My first reaction, if I hadn't been in such a controlled environment, would have probably been to start screaming like, no, it is very possible for you. So I had to be very calm and completely disregard. I mean, I had a time limit, but I'm like, you know what, this is very important. I probably am not only speaking to her right now, I'm speaking to the other young ladies. And I explained to her that yes, it is very possible for you to be a surgeon. And anything, I was also very candid that STEM subjects are quite hard. They require a lot of discipline and focus. And I explained that to her, and that anything that is good, we all know in life that is worth having, you will sacrifice, you will pay a price. But to actually tell yourself that and block yourself that it's not possible, that one, I just did not want to leave that school without addressing that.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, you have definitely touched a lot. Some of the things that you had to bring up in both states, comparing both, what are some of the challenges you have faced, and how have you been able to overcome these challenges to see that yes, your dream for Kwara State is actually coming to life?
Okay, wow, where do I start?
Oh, there are a lot.
There's a lot that you just unpacked there. Okay, let me start with the challenges for women. I will say yes, as a woman I faced quite a lot of challenges. My sisters who are all listening to me will shake their head that particularly those of us who are in the STEM fields, that one of the biggest challenges we face is being able to feel like you belong to that room, that you're good enough, because you keep on being told, sometimes directly, sometimes very subtly, that you're not good enough. So that one is a challenge to itself. Then of course you do face the fact that you are a woman and sometimes improper advances are made, but that one requires a lot of wisdom. Then talking about the different spaces where I have worked, of course they are different. Each area always has its own set of challenges, the way things are structured. It's like me, I tell people, I'm going to backtrack. I've worked in 4 different states in the US. I worked in New York, I worked in California, I worked in North Carolina, I worked in South Carolina. Anybody who knows the US knows that, first of all, in fact, we were making a joke about this. The United States, that united is a misnomer. It's not really united. It's different nations in one nation. I wouldn't even call them states. That's why I said nations. So expecting New York and California to be the same. Woo! Expecting New York and North Carolina to be the same. Wow. Of course they were different. Different challenges, different mindsets, different structure. And each time I had to adapt, I had to be flexible. So of course it's the same here too. Lagos is more of a coastal city. Kwara is more to the north. In fact, it's considered north central now.
Yes, it is.
So you can't expect it to be the same. I was just telling someone how I had to adjust to how hot it is over there compared to Lagos. So it's totally different. The way I connected with my students was completely transformed. And after that, I said, no, always be you. Find what works for you, be you.
Exactly.
And then I said, channel what keeps you late at night. What kept me late at night, even that time as a classroom teacher, was I wanted my students to have that comprehension. I had a lot of students who were very confused, particularly when I was teaching mathematics, who were very confused about what they were learning, who absolutely despised what they were learning. And then to make matters even better,
Yeah.
I identified with them. Because when I was in secondary school, I hated mathematics too.
Wow.
And I was very candid. I used to tell my students that I hated math. But I told them that what made a difference for me was I met a teacher who absolutely loved it. And I fell in love with math when I met that teacher. And everything changed for me. So my goal was to become that teacher who will make them fall in love with it. Even if they don't totally fall in love with it, at least they will understand. And say, okay, this ain't, as we say in America, this ain't so bad after all. That was my goal.
Okay.
And then next I said, follow that path and see where it leads you. Well, my path was, I wanted my students to comprehend and learn better. And I just kept pushing myself to be better and better. I kept pushing myself in whatever schools I was for opportunities to go for professional development. Even if I didn't directly see myself as a leader, somehow I didn't realize I was positioning myself as a leader. I remember one of the schools that I taught in, that was during the advent of a lot of these edtech things that we see around now. The smart boards just started coming into the classrooms. And this is even in the States, I'm talking about, guys. And they brought that smart board, and immediately I did research. I started teaching myself how to utilize it. I started downloading a lot of the trying to remember now, templates, seeing how they could work for me for mathematics, seeing how they could work for teaching science, because remember, I'm still a science teacher at heart. And you know what I started doing immediately? Even if I wasn't an English teacher, because I saw that a lot of my colleagues, they were struggling, I also saw how it could be utilized effectively in the English classroom too. So I also started, before I knew what was happening, I was helping all my colleagues during my lunch break. So somehow that leader in me just said, you know what, let me just start helping everybody and see how it could. So you see that I didn't realize that my path was helping my colleagues, teachers, helping other students. And then I started identifying helpers and mentors. Yes, I also found people who helped me and nurtured me. And learning, you have to constantly keep on learning. And please, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be a failure. All right,
so thank you very much. I mean, these are definitely words, true to your words. These are words from your heart, because all of this are coming from different experiences that you have gone through, and you have just put them in few words and given it out. And any other last words you want us to know, or something that you want to leave us with in just a few seconds?
Wow.
Okay,
all hands on deck. I want to say that the work that we're trying to do in education is not a one-man show. It is everybody in various ways coming together and seeing what we can all do. And the reason that I feel so passionately about it and so strongly is that we're all going to benefit from it. There's certain sectors that I call social goods. One of them is education, the other one is health. I mean, I tell everyone, I don't care if you have $1 million, if you're sick in the hospital, you don't care about that money. But if you're in good health, you're strong, you're healthy, oh my God, you're going to be rocking life. So education is a social good. It benefits everyone. Each of us being able to contribute economically to our communities benefits all of us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Take us through your journey so far, and what's leading to this very point. So we're excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for allowing me to talk.
All right, so that's it, dear listener. I hope that you have learned and you have known that education is key. If you follow through her journey, you know that she wouldn't be where she is without the education, without the voices that stood for her. So you can be a voice wherever you are. So please endeavor to lend your voice towards education, especially education of the girl child. And yes, we wish you all the best on the key initiatives and programs that you have right now and that you are going to come up with in Kwara and wherever you get to find yourself after your tenure here. So do want to stay with us right here on Women Radio WFM 91.7.